Jacob Rees-Mogg has just released a video called Free Speech, Holly Valance and Ofcom. In this video, he complains about the Australian actress and singer getting in trouble for saying a certain naughty word on GB News. Was it right? And what does it say about freedom of speech? Right, we're going to have some fun with this one, ladies and gents. It's going to be brilliant because we're going to do an elocution lesson with Jacob Rees-Mogg and the Angry Bootneck. A wonderfully gifted public speaker, Jacob Rees-Mogg certainly has the CV to impress anybody. He's marvellously eloquent, positively brimming with 18th century candour and splendid flowery language that could put even David Starkey or Russell Brand, although I suppose he's a little bit over the top, that fella. He could put any of them to shame, such as his mastery of the English language. And the Angry Bootneck has a gift for puerile slurs, juvenile humour, and general potty language. So I thought this would be great. We can be the perfect double act. He can educate you about those lengthy, somewhat archaic words in the English language that we don't use very often. And I can educate Jacob about, well, things like this.
And then a word that seems to me to be very rude, the word mong, which I wouldn't use other than to list it to you in these circumstances, seems a very unpleasant term of abuse.
Yeah, I reckon he doesn't use minge very often either. Okay, welcome, ladies and gents. This is great fun. I love listening to Jacob reel off crude words that he wouldn't normally say. I'll let him do most of the talking and I'll interject when it's funny.
I know very little about Australian pop stars and actresses, but what I do know about is Holly Valance, who is a very impressive figure, a conservative.
She has a very impressive figure, Jacob. Holly Valance is essence of woman. She's so classy, you could use her pubes for dental floss. I'm very surprised Jacob knows who she is, but there we go. He continues to amaze me.
Supporter, somebody who has done a great deal for conservative causes in recent years. Somebody who I admire, though I don't know I've met in passing. She's recently been in trouble because she used a word on GB News of all places, on Free Speech Nation of all places, that was deemed to be so offensive that she's not allowed to say it, and it had to be beeped over.
It must be bad. It must be bad if they had to beep it over.
In rebroadcasts and even in newspaper articles, it's been put with asterisks rather than the whole word printed out. Now, what is this shocking word? This word that makes people reach for the smelling salts and have a fit of the vapours? The word is retard.
Isn't it great listening to Jacob Rees-Mogg use terms like this? Jacob, please swear more. Come on, do it. I live for the days up in PMQs, and he goes, Mr. Starmer, you can deny it all you like, but it's obvious to all and sundry that you are a sword swallower. Yes, you've been upon more pipes than the Mario Brothers, you slimy, slithering sack of shit. I'd love to see that.
And retard is on a list of Ofcom's most offensive words. And this is absolutely fascinating. Because of this, I looked up Ofcom's document. It's a document that runs to 38 pages called Public Attitudes Towards Offensive Language on TV and Radio, a Quick Reference Guide. And it goes through various types of language that may crop up: general swear words, words for body parts, sexual references, political references, race, nationality, ethnicity, sexual orientation and gender identity, religious preferences, mental health and physical ability, and non-English words.
What a load of gibberish. Can you believe we pay people to compile this absolute tosh? Unbelievable.
Well, I'm not going to go through general swear words because I don't like them anyway. I don't find it necessary to use them. I wouldn't say I'm enormously offended when other people do, but I've always tended to think that the use of swear words is a sign of ignorance.
Not so, Jacob. You can't call me ignorant if I know loads more swear words than you do, can you? He didn't even know what a mong was. I myself, use that term with great alacrity. So I think I've got you beat for a change, Jacob, when it comes to my mastery of the English language.
I'm not going to go through words for body parts because, to be honest, when I looked this up, there were a lot of them where I needed a dictionary to find out what they meant, and my dictionaries aren't quite that modern.
Can imagine him going through them. I say, Mildred, what's a purple helmet warrior? Are you aware of a blue-veined flute? It'd be amazing. Jacob, do it. Give your fans what they want.
Political references, almost none of those turn out to be deeply offensive, which is reassuring. But mental health and physical ability does have a number of words that are broadly banned and need a great deal of context if they're to be used. And I thought it'd be interesting to look at these to see what you think, which ones you think are offensive and which ones you don't. Because I was quite surprised by the list, by those that...
I thought he was going to go, I was quite surprised by flaps. I've never heard anyone referred to as that. Do you know I met a man from Newcastle who'd called his dog that? Yes, very perplexing.
Are deemed offensive and those that aren't. So the word cretin, and I'm sure you know the word cretin comes from a village in the Alps where people were born with a deformity that I think enlarged the back of their head.
Everybody knows that word comes from a village in the Alps, Jacob. Come along. Tell us something we don't know. We all take skiing holidays in the Alps, don't you know, old bean?
Cretin is very mild, unlikely to concern in most circumstances, and requiring limited context. That seems to me to be fine. On the other hand, midget is moderately offensive, greater potential for offence than mild words, and a higher level of context should be considered.
Short arse, Jacob. If you wish to not offend anyone, you can simply call them a short arse. Poison dwarf is also perfectly acceptable, for use at funerals and weddings and the like. Stunty, there's a good one. And if they're somewhat dwarvish and also overweight, dumpy is a good one, isn't it? Like that hobbit-faced Labour MP, I forget his name. Dumpy little twat, Jacob. It rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Whilst retard, to my mind, extraordinarily, is perceived as highly offensive and requiring clear and strong contextual justification. And those words seem to me to be such a mixed list. We've got cripple, which I wouldn't have thought was a particularly offensive word. It may be an old-fashioned word. It may be a word that crops up in Dickens, sort of...
No, it's fine, Jacob. Raspberry ripple. In my house, there were always a raspberry. Look at that. Raspberry. Easy. Totally inoffensive. So I'm educating him. He would have never thought it was upsetting anyone, but by using some Cockney rhyming slang, you can avoid the censors and not offend anyone. Why, just last week, I referred to a proper quadraspaz. Yeah, looked like a slovenly overweight version of Stephen Hawking. I said, all right, Raspberry, how you doing? And he gave me a thumbs... Well, he tried to give me a thumbs up. His hand was just shaking aggressively. Couldn't get his thumb up, bless him. But, he tried. It's the thought that counts, Jacob.
Word that you associate with Victorian novels, but meant in a kindly way, I would have thought, rather than in an aggressive and unpleasant way.
Just like Raspberry. Shut up, Raspberry. Get up the stairs. Shut up, whinging, you miserable twat. Raspberry, it's fine. Jacob, it's fine.
Invalid. Well, again, it's an old-fashioned word, but don't people refer to having an invalid relation, somebody who isn't terribly well, needs a bit of looking after? Invalid carriage is...
Totally fine to call someone an invalid. Well, Diane Abbott gets it 3 times a day whenever she has a town hall, doesn't she? Mother told me not to pick on an invalid, but I can't resist you, Diane. Yeah, I agree, Jacob. You know how to touch it all there, son.
Is in the law, as we discussed on GB News not so very long ago. And then a word that seems to me to be very rude, the word mong, which I wouldn't use other than to list it to you.
Other than to refer to every single member of the Labour front bench? Other than that.
In these circumstances, seems a very unpleasant term of abuse. Schizo, which again I think is probably moderately offensive, but I wouldn't say the highest level of offensiveness. Spastic, which is one of those words that was used.
Everyone likes that one, especially Hando and Davy, you remembered. Go on, you ladies and gents, you've seen it.
She's a spastic.
See, definitely not offensive if it's used by skinheads. They're nice, trustworthy people. Usually in reference to Rachel Reeves, that one. It's fine, Jacob, it's fine. Don't you get your knickers in a twist about that one, son.
Indeed, the Spastic Society was a major charity and has become abusive.
I still call it that.
But again, I don't think is in the highest level of abuse. And then a term that, as I have no clue what it means, I've never come across before, I will leave you to look it up. It's on page, whatever it is of this, on page 31, in the list of rude words. It does say further down that it is only moderately well known. It says, if I can find it, medium level of recognition, highly offensive. But as I don't know what it is, as I say, I'll leave you to look that one up.
I think the word he's talking about there is windalicker. You can imagine why Jacob's never heard that one, can't you? Never heard that one. I love, though, how above it is wheelchair bound. It has a high level of recognition, but is unlikely to cause concern in most circumstances. Who is the person that gets upset by wheelchair bound? I don't see how you could be any less offensive. What are you supposed to say? He's got wheels. The wheeled fella over there. No, there's no less offensive way of saying it than wheelchair bound. If I was forced to sit in one all day, I would then assume I was wheelchair bound and there was no more polite way to say it. But apparently, calling someone tires or vehicular borne seating arrangement, I don't know, is apparently what you're supposed to use if you listen to Ofcom. I mean, it's unbelievable. Anyway, finish up, Jacob.
And this is where the control of language becomes a politically correct control. You say these words are banned, and therefore people cannot get their message across. They are limited in what they're able to say because they're limited to emphasize their point and to draw your attention to it. Now, this is not GB News' fault, I hasten to add. It is because there is a regulator. But the regulator goes into too much detail and essentially becomes infantilizing. Rather than allowing people to make choices and free arguments, it sets out a list. I think it's absurd that it does that and that you should trust people's judgment. And of course, that great judgment that we all have, known as the remote control. There was an aside, I always liked the line about the late Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, when she was asked if she had a remote control, she would have said, no, I have a footman. Nonetheless, if you don't have a footman, you have a remote control, and you can switch channels if you don't like the language that's being used. That seems to me a much better way of doing it, maintains freedom of speech, maintains free choice, and upholds our liberty and ability to debate.
Amen to that, Jacob. Well done, sir. You'll do for me. Ofcom is yet another cog in the machine being used by the degenerates that rule over us with an iron fist. It wants dismantling. Don't need Ofcom. We don't need all these pointless little organisations that really are all about twisting the nipples of normal freedom-loving people and ruthlessly enforcing the speech policing of the globalist sociopaths. Okay? Get rid of them. But other than that, Jacob, we're on the same page. I hope he sees this and I could educate him and he enjoyed himself. I know I did. That was great. Please swear more, Jacob. I love that. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow. Toodle pip. Cheers.